Hi, welcome back. So in our very first lesson, we focused on how print and println work differently to display things on the screen. As we move through the year, you're going to want more and more control over how you output things. So in today's lesson, we're going to learn some new tricks to control exactly how things will look when you display them to the screen. So let's say you want to print the following quote to the screen. Computers in the future may weigh no more than 1.5 tons. I kind of feel like that when I'm carrying my laptop around sometimes. Now, we're going to do this, but we want to be very particular. Again, computer science is a pretty picky discipline. So we want to output this exactly, which means we want to include the opening and closing quotes. So let's see what happens when we try this in the compiler. So here we have the very first part of our quote in Java. So let's go ahead and compile. And when we run it, okay, so we've got the quote on the screen, but it doesn't look exactly like it did on the slide just a second ago. We need this second line here, no more than 1.5 tons, to be on a new line, and we're also missing the quotation marks. Let's start by trying to add the quotes in. So if I add a quote right here, you'll notice what happens here is the color of what we're trying to print out, all of a sudden it changes. And when I go to compile, I get an error message. Now the reason is Java uses quotes to mark strings. And so basically I've opened my quote, I've closed my quote, and then I have the rest of the line here. So according to the way Java thinks, all of this is outside of my quotation marks. So we need a way to tell Java, okay, this isn't acting like a quote that shows strings, this is actually something I want to display on the screen. So the way we do this is by using a backslash. Just that little slash right there. And that tells Java, okay, I'm just going to display whatever character comes next. So if I recompile, we don't have any errors. And now we've got the first part of our quote correct. Quote, computers in the future may weigh no more than 1.5 tons. So let's add our second quote to the end. Again, if I try to just type in a quote and compile it, we get an error. So we're going to need to use the backslash and the quote to tell Java, this is just something I want to print to the screen. Okay? All right, so now we've got the quotes correct. But what I want to do is right here break it to the next line. We actually had this in 2 lines. Now our challenge today, we could do this very easily just by adding another system.out.println, but I want to do this with just one print statement. So we can actually add in the middle of a string a line break, and we just do that with a \n. Let's recompile. And when we run it, now we're a little bit closer. Computers in the future may weigh no more than 1.5 tons. Now I'm going to be pretty fussy here. Again, computer science can get pretty exact. The no is showing up under the quotation mark. And when we look back at the way it was on the slide, you can see that the no is basically lining up under the C right here. So I want to basically bump that in a little bit. That may seem like a really picky detail, but computer science really is all about those details. So to fix that, I just need to add an extra space right here before the no. So if I rerun it, much better. Now it's lined up correctly. Now the last piece we need is the citation. So we're going to add that here at the end. Okay, so if we run and we compile, again we're close, but we want popular mechanics to show up on the next line. So for that we're going to use the \n. Okay, so let's look back at our slide and make sure everything is correct. We've got everything lined up, and here it is lined up in the output screen. So these characters, the /quotation mark and the /n, are what are called escape characters. They're basically special symbols that you can include inside your strings that gives you a little bit more control how things will look on the output screen. So here are some of the other escape characters. We've already seen the double quote, and we've used new line. You also can tab things over using a horizontal tab. We can use it to print the backslash itself, and we can also use it to do the single quote. There are more of these. If you ever want to, you can just Google escape characters, but these are the ones you're expected to know for this course. So let's try some of these other ones. Let's say I want popular mechanics to really be pushed over. Instead of adding a whole bunch of spaces, I can just use /t for tab. I'm going to add 2 of those. When we run it, Notice now Popular Mechanics is scooted all the way over here. Now, I can also use this if I want to print out, let's say I want to get rid of the comma and use a backslash here instead. If I try to just add one backslash to print it out and I run it, again, we're going to get an error message. Basically, it says illegal escape character. So to tell it no, I actually do want to print out the backslash, I just need to add a second one, recompile, run it, and now it's inserted that backslash. And we can do the same thing here on the end. I'm just going to add a single quote. So backslash single quote. And that just adds a single quote out to the end. So let's try a quick practice problem. This is the kind of question you might see on a quiz or a test. So which of the following outputs JAVA? Now notice each letter is starting on a new line and it's tabbed over. So that has one tab, this has two tabs, and this final one here has three tabs. So the best way to approach this kind of problem is with a process of elimination. We know that because they're on new lines, we have to have /n. We also know because they're tabbed over, we're looking for a /t. So as we go through, this very first one, it has a /t's, but there are no /n, so this one would just show up on the same line. So it's not that one. The next answer, we have J/NA/N/N, so that one would bump it down a line, but there are no tabs, so that can't be it. So now we know it's between one of these two answers. On the AP exam, the multiple choice section has 40 questions, so you want to work pretty quickly. Being able to quickly eliminate answers like this makes it a lot more likely that you'll get something correct. Also, there's no penalty for guessing. If you guess and get an answer wrong, you won't lose any points. So let's say this was your last question on the AP exam and you got it down to 50-50, but you had to turn in your sheet to the proctor. At that point, a 50-50 guess is much better than a 1 out of 4. So anytime you can when you're working through, go ahead and cross off answers. Now this problem here, we have /t and we have /n. The problem though is the order. Basically what Java is telling us to do is put a J, tab over, and then bump down a line. So we tab and then the down a line. The problem is that leaves the tabs up on the line above, and we actually want them before our letters. So the final one is the one that's correct. We bump down a line, then we tab. After A, we bump down a line, tab, tab. V, bump down a line, tab, 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 and then it prints the A at the end. So here we've got both the new line and the tab, and the order is correct. So this final one is the correct answer. Now I'd like you to try it. I'd like you to use what's called Ascii Art to print out this house. And again, be very careful with your slashes.